If you open a standard American history textbook, you will likely find Harriet Tubman described in one specific way: a brave civilian conductor on the Underground Railroad. This framing feeds into a broader historical narrative, the idea that enslaved people were passive victims, waiting for Abraham Lincoln to sign a piece of paper and set them free. But as early as 1915, scholars like Dr. Carter G. Woodson recognized that this narrative was missing pieces of the truth. He founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History to dismantle these myths and highlight Black agency. Take a look at this timeline. It plots out 80 global emancipations, and notice the breakdown here. Between 1780 and 1930, there were 20 distinct emancipations within the United States alone. Emancipation was a messy, ongoing struggle, never a single clean decree. Teaching emancipation strictly as a gift from the federal government actively strips Black Americans of their role in destroying the institution of slavery. To see what that role actually looked like, we have to travel to Beaufort, South Carolina, in May 1862. This was deep inside Confederate territory. Tubman arrived here officially to work as a nurse and cook for the U.S. Army. Undercover, she was actively building a military intelligence network. During the Civil War, formerly enslaved people who escaped to Union lines were classified as contrabands. Tubman set up a system to debrief these refugees as they arrived, extracting details about Confederate troop movements and infrastructure. Tubman used this data to gather the tactical intelligence needed to orchestrate a major military strike. Her target was the Combahee River region. The massive plantations along these banks produced the rice that kept the Confederate military machine fed and fighting. A moment of wonder. She faced a huge operational hurdle. Tubman couldn't understand the Gullah Geechee language spoken by the enslaved population living in the region. This map shows how she solved it. The Combahee River was heavily fortified with Confederate torpedoes, naval mines that could easily sink a ship. Tubman recruited local Black scouts and river pilots who knew exactly where the safe channels were. Without that localized Black gathered intelligence, a Union raid up this river would have been absolute suicide. On June 2, 1863, the operation launched. Tubman herself guided 3 U.S. Army gunboats miles up the Serpentine River directly into the heart of enemy territory. At 4 a.m., the boats breached the rice fields. Tubman later recalled the moment the enslaved workers realized what was happening, writing that they rushed toward the riverbanks like startled deer. As this counter shows, the raid was a blow to the Confederacy. The Union forces destroyed millions of dollars in plantation infrastructure and successfully liberated 756 enslaved people. In the middle of the chaos, Tubman tripped in the thick mud because of her long dress. She actually wrote to her suffragist friends back in Boston right after, asking them to send her a tactical bloomer dress for her next combat mission. The success of the Combahee River raid made Harriet Tubman the first woman in U.S. history to lead men into battle. The impact of that raid didn't end when the boats docked. The very next morning, 150 of the newly freed men enlisted in the 2nd South Carolina Volunteers. Today, we piece together their service through bureaucratic documents, like this 1913 pension application. First-hand accounts are rare, as slavery intentionally kept these men illiterate. When soldiers are legally barred from reading, the people controlling the paperwork can write them out of the official record. The reality of the Combahee raid is clear. These individuals seized their freedom, and within 24 hours picked up rifles to destroy the system that had enslaved them. The sidelining of Tubman's military command is part of a specific historical habit, reducing Black strategists to service roles to make history feel less disruptive. You can track this habit through World War II with the soldiers of the Red Ball Express. These men, responsible for Allied fuel and ammo lines, are often remembered as drivers rather than essential military logisticians. It continues into the civil rights era, where public memory often trades the militant, cerebral activism of icons like Bill Russell, who famously demanded his own manhood, for a more comfortable, sanitized version of his success. But resistance to that erasure has always existed. In 1974, a group of Black Seminists named themselves the Combahee River Collective. They drew a direct line from Tubman's raid to their own fight against systemic oppression. Reclaiming these chapters proves that African Americans never passively waited for equality. Their story is a continuous, active, and brilliant fight to build a more perfect union.